for you guys. We have none other than Mr. Pogo the Clown going to be here with us, and he's going to be joining us all the way from across the ocean in Australia today. So you guys definitely want to stay here, get slammed with me, and let's have a good time. And now, before we go, I'm going to show you this too with little Pogo here, Mr. Pogo the Clown. He is accepting bookings in Australia wide. So if you guys are interested out there overseas, on that pond, on that nice little island in the middle of nowhere, this is the man you want. He's definitely got the training behind him, JPWA, definitely worked with NWA, JCP, Crossfire Professional Wrestling, and United PAG Wrestling right up there. This man is the man you definitely want to have here. Without further ado, let's jump right into it with Mr. Pogo the Clown. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, and I do want to correct you a little bit. That
Yes,
last
sir.
one for my Australian fans, it's United Pro Wrestling, UPW Australia, because there's one in America.
Yes, sir.
But absolutely, that's the one that we go for in Australia here.
Well, as I've said earlier, joining me is my esteemed guest and one of the most entertaining personalities in all of professional wrestling, and to say the least, a clown like no other, Mr. Pogo the Clown. Thank you for being here on Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver. I hope you're having a good day over on the other side of the world. My fans and myself have some questions for you. Are you ready, sir?
I'm absolutely raring to go. My day has just started. It's about 9:53 in the morning. So what you see before you is all the sunlight here. But first, I've got a question for you.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Why did the house go to the doctor?
I have no idea why, sir.
Because he had window panes.
Oh, come on, Pogo. Are we going to start like that today?
Well, look, I'm dressed. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you are. You're definitely ready to go. You're always ready to go, from what I understand. We got to meet you, Mr. Pogo the Clown, at NWA JCP's Showdown at Sunbright, the territory show that they were hosting earlier this year. But let's go all the way back to the early years of Pogo. What made you want to be a wrestler, and who and what is your earliest memory of wrestling?
So my journey in wrestling is pretty funny, as you would expect. I never grew up watching wrestling throughout my entire life. My first earliest memory was actually my dad was channel flipping when I was 4 years old, and he stopped on a match that I believe was Triple H versus Fit Finley. And funnily enough, that was when Hornswoggle came out underneath the ring and attacked Triple H. So being 4 years old, I now thought that Leprechaun was going to come out from underneath my bed and attack me at any time. So that's the first thing I remember about wrestling. Other than that, I never really watched, interacted with, had anything to do with wrestling until it was my 17th birthday, and I actually got WWE2K16 as a free game. I'm a clown. I like to play games. And even then I was like, it's wrestling. It doesn't really interest me, but I'm gonna at least give it a shot. It's a free game. There's the showcase mode on that. If people are familiar with the 2K games, that was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And when I tell you I played the whole thing through, I was meant to actually go on a road trip the next day. I stayed up all night until 4 a.m. Fell asleep the whole road trip, woke up the next day, and just Googled and researched everything I could about wrestling. Absolutely everything.
So you researched everything from that game. You made it directly from that game coming over. And that's kind of what got you hooked. It got you started. That's awesome. So I think my earliest memory was a SummerSlam. It was either 91 or 92. It was the Hart Foundation is what kind of got me hooked. It was a Hart Foundation versus Demolition Pogo. And I didn't know anything. I was just a young lad, probably 4 or 5 years old. And my cousin actually brought the tape in. They recorded pay-per-view and put it on a VCR. See, I'm so old. I can remember when we had VCR and tape. And they threw that thing in. And that was the first match that I ever saw. And it was just like lightning. It was a 2 out of 3 falls count match. I can remember everything vividly about it. Yeah. And the cheating that went on, Demolition was a 3-piece tag team. The Hart Foundation was a 2-piece tag team. And yes, at the end, the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, came out and exposed the triple for what it was and got them disqualified. So it actually helped the Hart Foundation out. So, I remember going through that section as well and becoming a fan first and foremost. And then in my formative years, in my teen, it was WWE 12 that actually brought me back to wrestling, got me right back into it. And it made me want to pursue and get inside the business and work something. And we've got something in common. So you went to JPWA, but I did the social media class with JPWA and figured out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we've kind of got some connections there with Dr. Tom and Kane, and it really makes an interesting view of your world, because it's such a small world. Here you are overseas, and you're performing and you're doing things, and you came to our neck of the woods to get trained by the best in the business. So I've got to say, I'm very grateful for you for doing that. Coming from humble beginnings, Mr. Pogo, how did you end up all the way over here into USA being trained? And as we talked about JPWA, we know who trained you. And are you planning on coming back?
So the American trip is something I've been planning all the way since like 2019. Obviously, there's been a couple major roadblocks, stuff that I couldn't control with the pandemic and such. And a couple just life roadblocks that it took a lot to overcome. So I would always put it off, like, okay, next year, I'll go next year. Something else pops, like, okay, I won't go this year, I'll go next year. And it wasn't until like late last year where I just decided that I've been putting off for so long. I just need to do it. And regardless of what I have to do, regardless of what it's going to take, I'm going to get myself over to America to train with the JPWA, because that is something that, like growing up, I didn't watch a lot of wrestling. So in my hours of research, I found stuff that I liked, which happened to be 70s and 80s Southern wrestling. And that was the stuff that really connected with me. So being able to be trained by Dr. Tom Pritchard was something that really, really, I guess, hooked me. So I knew that I was going to get there. I did take a little bit to get there, but the time I spent was so worth it. And I was glad to find out when I actually got there that the mentality of whatever it takes is something that JPWA held at heart. So it was very cathartic to have all the roadblocks I've had, like illnesses, car crashes, all kinds of stuff, stopped me from getting there, to now all these other people that have made it all having the same mentality of they're doing whatever it takes to not only put their foot forward, but to train under one of the best.
Well, you definitely have done that with Dr. Tom and making yourself available. I mean, it's amazing how the internet has advanced our world and our society, especially you going and doing your research and finding out and trying to find those matches that were really important to you and then getting involved in it. But before we go any further, Casey Kazana has come in and he said that Pogo is his favorite wrestler. He said to go ahead and ask him, is that true?
Yes, Casey Kazana, I am his favorite wrestler. He is also one of my favorite wrestlers. I spent a lot of time with Casey in my time at JPWA, not just in training, but riding with him, going to shows, working obviously with his promotion, Joe Kazana Promotions. So he's one of my favorites. I'm one of his favorites. That's definitely the truth.
Kassara Croft came in and said, Casey, if she had to choose between you and him, she's going to choose Pogo, is what she says. So we've got some chitter chatter going on here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Casey Kazan, he can't look like this all the time, can he? He's got that southern boy look. Yeah?
The White Lightning is what they're calling him now. They're going by White Lightning Casey Kazana, and he's definitely great. We got to see him at SPCW a few days ago, which I believe that you got a chance to be at SPCW, did you not?
That's right. Because SPCW is run through JPWA, like the joint sort of school and promotion. I did get a couple opportunities to wrestle there. They actually had my first match. It was against one of the local guys. I feel really bad. I can't remember his name, but he was there. He was a masked guy. It's going to kill me not remembering that. But
it's all right.
It was awesome that I got that opportunity, considering I had pretty much had just landed that week, and they said, "Hey, like, do you want to have a match this weekend?" And I was like, "Absolutely! This is what I'm here for, to train, wrestle, and get as much exposure, experience, and everything I can."
Well, we got to follow you around and see how exciting you really were inside the ring, and man, I mean, it makes a huge difference when you got somebody that can perform on the level that you can perform and hold your gimmick as well as you hold it. I mean, well, it's not a gimmick for you, it's a lifestyle. But
It
what
is,
would you say, in your opinion, out here working here was the best time in the ring? What shows were you involved in that were just the absolute best shows for you?
So I will be a little bit biased to not just because Casey's in the chat, but JCP NWA shows were easily some of the best I've seen, not just how it was run, but all the talent on there, how it came together, and how it really felt like just the kind of stuff they had in Australia. So like I started out basically in a joint shed cafe in the middle of an industrial park in 2017. That was my training school basically. So with that, the United Pro Wrestling Training Academy, I've seen that grow and improve to our UPW studios now, which is still pretty much just a shed in an industrial park, but now it's so much bigger. We have a lot of fans there. We have I guess you'd say like every bi-weekly events every 2 weeks, and we get a real good crowd to there. So JCP was definitely the closest thing I felt like to home, to make, if that makes sense. And coming in as Australian, not knowing a single person, not having anyone come with me, I was like, well, I feel like I was going to be an outsider. But the JCP guys and even the guys at School of Morton really welcomed me. So overall, I've got to say.
Let's talk about your time in School of Morton, because I know some people that are over there that have made a request to have you come back. One
Yeah.
Scotty B in particular told me that you were one of the most fantastic in-ring performers he's seen this century. Yeah. So what did you do over there that was so great that you impressed the right people?
Well, so a funny story comes with that as well. You know, it has to. I'm a clown. So at the Sunbright event, you may remember Ricky Morton was there.
Yes, sir.
I had a match against a guy called Brandon Davis. It was his second match like ever, and he got stuck in traffic, so he was a bit late. So I called the whole thing almost to him on the fly. So I would say probably not my favorite match, just because I know I was so stressed about it with Ricky Morton there, who's someone like
the living legend, you know, Rock and Roll Express, living legend, yeah.
Living legend. He's genuinely like one of like my biggest legends, like him, Jim Cornette, The Midnight, all those guys. Like those are people I love to watch. So after the match, he actually came up to me and asked if I wanted to come to his training school the next day. So at this time, I didn't know anyone, so I paid for almost $100 Uber to go from Knoxville all the way to Chucky, just because Ricky Morton invited me to his school.
Oh, Pogo, there's connections everywhere.
Yeah, well, I still didn't know anyone, so right, imagine my surprise when I walk in and I see Shoop and Max Abel and a bunch of JCP guys standing there. I'm like, well, what the hell? Like, why didn't I think to ask
They were just at the show the night before.
Yeah, I fully admit that's my fault. I didn't think to ask anyone, like, hey, is anyone going to SOM the next day? But from there, Ricky actually introduced me to Scott and said, hey, you know, this kid is from Australia. He's a clown. You should book him. They gave me a match, and Scott and James Strange, the two owners / promoters there, they loved me and just kept wanting to have me back.
Is there anybody that's at School of Morton that you would love to have a match with?
Oh, I got to have a match with a lot of people that I really wanted to. Blake Gibson was another one I really wanted to. I didn't get a chance to. With my time training so much, I had to really juggle like training 5 nights a week, then which shows I would go to so I wouldn't be sore, and then doing it all again the next week. But I would have liked to have another match, a proper singles match with Michael Gabriel as well as School of Morton talent. There's just so many, like we've got Blake Gibson, like I mentioned. Sean Cruz is another one I would have liked to. Even the Extraordinary Gentleman. Like, it's just lots of people that I feel like I could get in there and just have a lot of fun with and be entertaining with.
Well, I know the Godfather of the industry watches this. He watches it every week religiously, and he's always talking to me about stuff that comes up on this. So I know that he's going to see this and he's going to go, yeah, we should do that. So whenever you make plans to come back to America, would that be the first match that you would want to have?
Well, it wouldn't be the first, but it would be very close. I do actually have already got dibs on my first match back, being against my fellow graduate of the JPWA of my class, Kate Vincent.
All
He did
right.
unfortunately beat me when we had our graduation match, so I already told him that when I come back, it's you and me straight up, and I'm getting that win back.
That's right. Revenge match, baby. Get that win back.
Hmm. Hmm.
Kirk Kazana came in and said, "Yeah, Pogo, you go, buddy." So, Pogo, if the fans want to see you, where and when can they do so? When are your next bookings going to be and available to you? And are they going to be televised or internet put on the internet through YouTube or anywhere like that?
Yeah. So this weekend, I'm actually checking out a place called Atomic Pro Wrestling in Toowoomba. So I'm not too familiar if they put any of their matches or anything online as of yet. But if they do, I will be sharing it around, obviously. The week after that, I'm back with United Pro Wrestling, and that's on the Sunshine Coast. We do actually have for UPW a YouTube page that you can check out. It's just at UPW Australia. There's a lot of free matches on there, sometimes even whole free events. If you're looking for like, I guess you could say like a tape library, UPW does have Vimeo on demand as well, which has full events ranging all the way back to like 2019. So you can really see the progression of Pogo the Clown from basically when he started out to now. And other than that, I had usually, if you just Google Pogo the Clown, Australia, because I know there's one in America, that's a whole thing. If you just Google the Pogo Australia Australia, United Pro Wrestling Australia, you can
Well,
find a
we
lot of
got
my
to
matches.
ask you about that now that you mentioned it. So, did you
Okay.
base your character off of John Wayne Gacy's Pogo the Clown?
Okay. So in Australia, I would say true crime is not as big of a cultural thing as it is in America, and even then, American true crime not as big. There are some podcasts that I specifically listen to, like Last Podcast on the Left, which is a really great one. I got to saw them live, uh, but I didn't necessarily base the character off it. I did just get the name from it because when I started out, I wasn't a very nice guy. I was a very evil clown. So what better evil clown name than that? But my face paint, my look has sort of been picked and chosen from clowns of all eras, of all types, of everything like that. So I've sort of grabbed the best bits, made it a mishmash, and just became Pogo the Clown, which here I
And you're one of
am.
the most entertaining clowns in professional wrestling today, sports entertainment, if you will. And
Yes, sir.
before we get to the next question, Casey Kazana asked, "You don't want to work with me, pal? What the
Oh,
F?"
okay, Casey, I've already worked you more than enough times that the lost SOM footage of our six-man match will forever go down in history as the greatest match that SOM's never seen. But you can guarantee when I get back, and perhaps even if I can get you, Casey, I'm looking at you down the camera, to Australia, we're going to have that match. We're going to have multiple matches.
You guys heard it here first, and he's a great one to have a match with, as he is one of the hottest professional wrestling talents right now, running the territories. And I gotta say, man, he has done some awesome stuff. Even though he did lose that junior heavyweight championship this last
What?
Saturday against Johnny Poke, I
I
do
did
have to
see
say
that.
that he is very entertaining and he puts everything on the line each and every time he's in the ring.
He does. Now this isn't a Casey Kazana podcast. This is about Poe the Clown. So as much as I love that guy, this isn't all about him this time, Mr. NWA megastar.
Yes, Mr. Pogo. So you're currently accepting bookings. We showed it up earlier that you were doing it at Pogo the Clown, pw@gmail.com. Is that still correct, sir?
That's still correct. That's one way to get in contact with me. You can also just message me on Facebook or Instagram. I have a link in the bio of both of those. It has all the information. So, like how to book me, how to get in contact with me. If you want any of my merch, there's a whole merch page store that you can go to. So, yeah, for any fellow promoters, podcasters, anything in between, I'm absolutely accepting bookings. So you can just get in contact.
Let's talk about your social media. I know that you're always on Instagram. Are you on anything else, sir? Because on Instagram, you're at Pogo underscore the underscore clown underscore PW.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you on anything else, sir?
At the moment, it is just Facebook and Instagram. I don't have much time to manage any other social medias, and I don't have much energy to do it either. But those are the best places to get a hold of me. Instagram, I use the most, but Facebook as well. Good to get a hold of, and I'm always checking emails for stuff too.
Awesome. So you guys know how to book him. If you want him to work your territory, work your industry, get him back to America, let him work here somewhere, guys. We definitely would love to see you in NWA, NWA, JCP, School of Morton. We'd love to see you on Ohio Valley Wrestling. I know all these guys are watching New South Pro Wrestling. We would love to see you work in all of these territories, Championship One Wrestling. If you guys can get this man, book this man, bring him here. He's going to be so entertaining for you, and he knows exactly what he's doing inside the ring. Thank you, Mr. Pogo the Clown, tonight for taking the time for us, especially being overseas with the time delay and everything and working this out. And thank you for the messages you sent me on my birthday. It's absolutely a blessing to have somebody like you in our lives and being able to work with you publicly. And before I go, would you like to say anything to the crowd or anybody watching?
Well, so first off, I'd just like to thank all the fans that have supported me to get to America. It was a very big trip just for me, first time even leaving the country. So all the fans that supported me going, all the fans that supported me while I was over there, like yourself, like Kasar, and all the fans in the crowd. And I would also like to thank all the elevators for being uplifting and all the escalators for never stopping. And one last thing, Casey Kazana, doesn't matter how many superstars you call yourself, but you're always going to be good old Casey Cabana to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again, Mr. Pogo the Clown, for being here. And we look forward to seeing you when you make your return back to the United States. We're going to come see you in person. We're going to support you wherever they got you. Okay. Just keep us posted on when and where. And that's going to conclude our show for today. Thank you all for being here and joining us in on the Clownin' Around here at Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver. And remember, you all heard it here.